Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Correct My Swing podcast with myself, Josh, and Andy. This week we're very, very lucky, very fortunate to have Mr. Chris Hanson on with us. I won't introduce him. I'll undoubtedly miss a lot of things and mess it up. So I'll hand over to Chris and give you a bit of information about himself.
Cool, guys. Thanks for having me. My name is Chris Hanson. I've been a full-time player as a professional for 15 years. Journey started out as a pretty average sort of amateur golfer playing sort of county level things. Spent some time at Myerscough College. Sort of decided I wanted to be a player full time as the journey progressed, and that led me to turning pro when I was 20 to start the journey on the Euro Pro Tour. I think 5, maybe 6 years playing Euro Pro. Had some success early on, and then sort of tailored out, went a bit stale, and didn't really progress as quick as I'd like to do, and it kind of felt like it was never really going backwards, but just never really going forwards. So there was times in the journey when it was sort of make or break, and I was about to pack it in, and then it ended up going forward again. So obviously, again, the Challenge Tour card after winning the Euro Pro America in 2011, then played 4 years on Challenge Tour, really. Again, not really ever progressing, not really ever getting a bit stagnant. Challenge Tour didn't seem to sort of really suit my game. It was very sort of smash it out there, make loads of birdies, and you kind of didn't get rewarded for being probably a good driver of the ball. Ended 2015 was another sort of make or break time, and it was kind of, I was about to pack it in and had one more sort of push going for Q School, and managed to get the last card at Q School. So obviously things again started again, and the journey carried on. And then I had 2 successful years on the main European tour. And then the last year, a bit hit or miss again. Too many external things and a few bad decisions led to a pretty average year on the tour and losing my card. And then last year was playing Challenge Tour again and really struggled. So that led me to a COVID break, and I kind of reassessed what was going on in life. And I've really been enjoying coaching at all levels and helping people at the start of their golfing journeys as amateurs and as beginners, but then also at the start of their full-time golf for some professionals and for some elite amateurs as well. And kind of hopefully sharing some of my experiences and knowledge from what I learned in 15 years, and hopefully they get to then learn them lessons a little bit sooner in their journey and hopefully get to their end destination quicker than what it took me.
I think that's it, too, because you're coming from it from a very practical standpoint. Is that, well, actually, you've been there, you've done it, you've gone through the whole process, you've got all the T-shirts, you've got all the experience.
Yeah, I've played every mini tour going, probably every development tour going, and every main tour going pretty much in Europe. So I have a lot of experience from there, and a lot of bad experience and a lot of good experience. So, and I think you learn probably more, don't you, in a lot of things from your failures than you do from your good stuff. So I think that's what's important, is being able to like accept the failures, or accept that there is something you can learn from those from that diversity.
Go on, Andy.
Chris, do you think, I mean, that was a really honest kind of opening, and I think, do you think that's going to make you as a coach stronger in the fact that you recognise the obstacles and the kind of, is it fair to say, like the roller coaster of the career,
sure, yeah.
The highs and lows? Do you think that's good for young, golfers coming in, for you sharing those experiences and giving that clarity and honesty?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it certainly did. I think it depends on the kind of person the player is, because some people need the bullshit and they need to pass the blame, and it's everyone else's fault that they're not achieving things. And for some people that does work. They ride that wave that they're the best and it's never their fault. But then for people who, and that probably only works for players who are actually good. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. I'm
get
not
away
saying,
with being unbelievably talented.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like someone like Tyrrell Hatton, who always looks to complain about something. Like, he'll tap a spike mark down what's not even there, but that's just the way he goes about blaming. If he hits a bad putt and it's his fault, all of a sudden it's not his fault, and that works for him. But he's obviously got a high skill level and he is good.
It's like Monty, isn't it? Like when Monty in his prime of his career, it was never his fault. It was always someone in the crowd. It was someone on the green, but he still pitched and won 7 or 8 order merits in a row.
Yeah, so that's great for a player like that. But if you're not actually a very good player and you're constantly passing the blame and you're not very honest in your own assessment and you're not willing to learn, you aren't going to progress, are you?
No.
So for me, I've always tried to be quite open and quite honest with my ups and downs. And that probably has at some point had a negative effect on me progressing. Maybe I've been too honest sometimes. I work with psychologists and they've kind of tried to give it the whole positive talk and just tell yourself you're a good putter, tell yourself. But I've always been like, well, I'm not that good of a putter. And so it's all that like fake it to make it, isn't it? And there obviously there is an element of that what I think people need, and I think some people need it more than others. But for me, that didn't work really. I had to prove myself, and I had to get the results, and I had to put the hard work in. And but I think I was always pretty honest with myself. Like each year, like I had a good team of people around me, which is key, and they were very honest. They wanted me to do well. They didn't feed me any crap, and if something needed to be worked on, then someone would put their hand up and say, "You're not very good at this. We need to get better at this." And I was quite open to criticism, which again, to improve, you've got to acknowledge that something's not very good and go and do something about it, haven't you?
I guess it's a balance though, isn't it? Because if you're self-critical, and we come across a lot of young golfers that are incredibly self-critical of themselves. And I guess it's finding the balance, isn't it? Between, you know, like you say, having a team around you where, you know, if you're always looking to improve and you have this mindset that you aren't good enough or you aren't, then that is going to reflect in your golf, isn't it? So I guess it's finding the balance of what is actually the truth, really, isn't it? Because in fact, you know, that's the thing with a lot of players.
Yeah, I think, and again, being honest with yourself, but actually having people around you who can help you, or if you're good enough at it yourself, to actually know what you need to do to get better, or what areas are not very good. Like I've always done stats. I've not always looked at them, but my coach has always looked at them, so they've always been there. And I always remember Callum Shinkwin, and I mean, there's not many people like Callum really, and I remember saying to Callum once, "Do you do stats?" Well, I don't do stats. I've got to get better at everything, so I just practice everything. Which
one way of doing it, isn't it?
Which is true, isn't it? You've got to get better at everything. But why waste your time on a 50-yard bunker shot because you're not very good at it when you only hit one 50-yard bunker shot in 3 months?
Well, I'd say, like if you're a great driver at the ball, like why stand on the range beating balls with the driver when you're already really good? Yeah,
so don't get me wrong, there's always a time when you need that smoke blowing up your ass and you need to feel good about it, and you would maybe spend an hour hitting drivers because it makes you feel good. And that's probably something you might do more at a tournament, but away from it, like there's a lot of other areas of the game, and I guess strokes gains probably helped with actually quantifying the importance of some shots more than others. So you can kind of, if you're not very good at some areas, you can put a value to the importance of that area, and then you're not very good at another area, but the importance in strokes gained is a lot higher. So straight away, you probably should push your time a bit more, because your time is very limited. I always remember my old coach saying, he worked it out that when you're on tour week to week, you probably only had 8 hours of time to try and develop your game around competing and warming up.
Is that
and
a
everything
week?
else? Yeah. So like,
8 hours a week?
Yeah, so you think about it,
Oh my
you got
God.
your travel.
Yeah.
And then like you've got a practice round. So you don't take your practice round, just like your actual your hours set to do work.
You're not working on your game for a practice round, are you? You
exactly
create a strategy for the tournament.
And it's very like the half an hour before you're warming up. And so taking away like your warm up time, pre-tournament stuff, and your downtime and your rest, you probably realistically got around 8 hours of constructive time to develop your game. So how do you plan what 8 hours is spent where? Like you've got your fitness, you've got your nutrition, you've got your psychological side, you've got your performance side, you've got your technical side. Then technical side, you've got pitching, chipping, bunker play, long irons, short irons, mid irons. Do you know what I mean? There's 8 hours is not a lot of time, is it?
No, not at all.
And you're trying to get ready to actually compete. So you do need to know a lot of information, don't you? And I think it's pretty important. I think a lot of young players, I would say, maybe naive or maybe don't have a good team around them, would not focus on what they need to be getting better at. They just do what their mates are doing.
Do what they like to do.
They like to do, but they do what they feel comfortable with.
Mm.
They might be quite good chippers, and the mates go chipping. Yeah, I'll go chipping because I'm good at that, and I'll beat them at chipping comp and stuff. So you feel good about it. So sometimes there's a good element to that, but realistically, you're wasting a lot of time by doing. I think there's too many sheep, isn't there? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, a piece of advice is get good people around you who want you to do well as a person, who are there to advise you. And it is a team sport with a very individual element to it, but good people around you, and do what works for you. And the sooner you find out what works for you, the quicker you'll get to your end result.
So it's really interesting you say in terms of when your coach worked out, you've only got 8 hours in a week, roughly, to work on your game. Yet you get all these young lads that are looking at the tour pros on tour, think, oh God, they've got all the time in the world. Like they don't have to do any of this, they don't have to do any of that, they don't have to worry about this or that or whatever. All they've got to do is play golf and worry about golf. But then when you break it down, like, well, actually, no. Essentially, you've got one working day in hours spread across a week, but you're not getting eight solid hours. It's not as if you say, right, well, on Tuesday, I'm going to spend all day Tuesday and I'm going to do this. It's going to be great. It's going to be a really busy, productive day. Yeah. You're probably just like stealing half an hour, 40 minutes. I'll steal an hour and a half.
Yeah, and then you've got to think like your time at a tournament as opposed to at your own facility practicing. All of a sudden, you've got 150 people on a Tuesday trying to do the same thing. You've got you've got 10 holes on a putting green. You've got 20 slots on a driving range, and you've got one chipping green. So you ain't setting out your drills. You ain't really putting your pegs out on a green to do a pitching test, or I mean, you're having to improvise all the time, and every venue is different every week. Some weeks playing challenge tour, some weeks you can't hit driver.
Like, on the range.
It's 5-iron only, and there might be a net. So if you've come from the week before and you're struggling with driver, you've got to improvise pretty quickly. So I think that's key. I think you as much as you want to have a plan, that's an air in the car. Sorry. As long as you want to, you plan and have all this structure, you've got to be adaptable as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like what you guys do, like the fitness and strength stuff. Like you can take bands and things with you, and you can hope that the gym's quite decent. But until you get there, you don't really know what you've got, do you?
No, and again, that's all part of kind of, just going to say what kind of our philosophy is in it. It's going to be making sure that you adapt to the player and the environment they're in as well, can't you? You know, there's no point. There's no point in you setting somebody out a whole rehab plan. One, if you've only got 8 hours to include everything, it's got to be really, really time efficient with almost everything you do, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So just go back to when you're saying in terms like you're very open with your team in terms of take not criticism but a constructive criticism, so you want to get better. But there's some external factors and some decisions that led to you having bad seasons.
Yep.
What were they, if you don't mind, like chatting about them or some of them?
I think the main, like, I had some management company issues, which unsettled me. We had some tax issues, you could say. Accounts issues. That was always an area what I really struggle with, getting my head around things, and I'd like to think we got messed about a little bit as a family with certain parts of that. But then golf-wise specifically, probably like 50, 78% of players out there were striving to hit more, to get more distance. I'd always trained, but I was trying to find it in equipment as well. And I was messing around. I moved to, probably from being one of the best drivers of the ball, decent enough distance and very consistent, which is why I feel I did well on tour. I went from challenge tour driving it well and not getting a reward because it wasn't as penal, to toe setup with rough and still driving it the same, not getting better, just driving it the same and getting a reward for hitting fairways. So I went for trying to, as a lot of people naively, even at my age, to try and hit it further. And I must have tried 12 different driver heads. And I'm on the range and I'm hitting shots and they're going further. So I'm achieving my goal. I'm getting more ball speed, balls, but I'm hitting some bad shots. So the left, which I never hit, had come back into the bag. So on the track man or on the driving range, I'm hitting it left. You just forget about it. Pick the next ball up, good one, bad one left, bad one right, good one, left, good one. I don't hit it left, but on the range it didn't matter. And like on track man, I was looking at that end result, and naively, like my whole team, it was bad really, because we had this goal of trying to hit it further, but I neglected dispersion. Not so much the dispersion was there, but I mean like the two-way miss came back in. So
it's the cost, isn't it? It's well, yes, we want more distance, but is more distance really going to provide what I want, which is lower scores, better scoring average? That's going to win more money.
Yes, I went from I'd say my average sort of round of golf was 3 birdies, 1 bogey. I was good at shooting 2 under a lot of the time. So I'd shoot 2 under first 2 rounds, met the cut, and then shoot level 2 under or something again and finish 30th. That was kind of me. So all of a sudden I went from that kind of golf to first round, 3 birdies still, 1 bogey still, but then a 7. I'd hit one left, make 7. Yeah. So all of a sudden I was on the back foot from round 1. Round 2 I was always fighting to make the cut. Always got it around the cut mark, but missed a hell of a load of cuts all of a sudden. And it took me 5 months to put an old Tillermere driver back in the bag, which might not have been the best driver for me, but it didn't go left.
Yeah.
And it was a very expensive lesson to learn. So yeah, for me, that was one of the defining things that kind of put me on the back. There's a lot more to it than just that. Don't get me wrong, but if I'd have spent the amount of time trying to drive the ball further on trying to putt better, which was never a strong point of me, because I hit a lot of fairways, a lot of greens. Strokes game was very, very good in that area. Never putted well enough. So if I'd improved my strokes game by 1 on the greens, my actual stroke average over the 3 years I was on tour was 71.9 to 71.5, and I made 200 grand more to 71.9.5 and lost my card. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't
marginal, isn't it? It's tiny.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So,
but isn't it? It's coming back to what you were saying before, isn't it? Like, know what works for you.
Yeah. Like, and I had a very, very solid game.
Like, know your game and know that. Yes, sometimes distance might be a limiting factor, but is it the limiting factor? Is that going to give you the biggest bang for buck?
And it's strange, isn't it? Because obviously distance is a huge topic, and stats prove that it is.
Yeah, there's no getting around it, is there? If you further, the more chance you're going to strike it or have fewer shots at a hole. But people seem to talk about this like they've just discovered fire, and they've just discovered the wheel that the distance and speed is everything. Like, well, when Sam Snead and Ben Hogan came on, they hit it past their peers then. And when Jack Nicklaus came on, he hit it past his peers. Like, this isn't you.
For me, like, changing the ball would be horrendous, because the long guys are still going to be longer, aren't they? It's not.
Well, if you mess around with the equipment, like if you're an average distance, you're still going to be average distance, but just 30 yards back of that.
Yeah, I think changing the club head size might be something, just so there's more skill in hitting the middle of a club or something. But the good guys are still in the middle. They very rarely miss the middle, don't they? Anyway, so that just kill amateur golfers even more. So
if you've got speed, you're going to hit it long, regardless. If you had a persimmon club and an old golf ball, like someone like Rory's still going to flush it and hit it miles.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was going to say then as well. Is like, obviously distance is huge, and it's proven that it helps. I would say, like, it's not. You've obviously got to play or hit it a lot better if you're shorter. That dispersion's proved it, hasn't it? We're like, if you're going into the 4-iron, it's harder to hit it closer than a 7-iron. So you've got to play really well, probably more often than the guys who hit it long. But I always say to people that I get asked all the time, like, who's the best players you've played with? I'm like, I worked it out. I've played with probably like I think probably now 80 people have won on tour, 10 major
Really?
champions. So a lot of good players. And the two best players, I always say it, and it's normally like in a conversation with some young kids at my school or wherever. And I'll say to them, you've probably never heard of them. And I'll just say Anthony Wall, David Drysdale. And like they never have. They never heard of him. Both been on tour for 20 years through 2 decades of equipment changes, physical changes, and they've kept the card for 20 years and won $500,000 every year. And Drysdale's never won.
That, doesn't it?
Yeah, Drysdale never won. Anthony Wall's won twice. 2 smaller events, but won twice. And I use them as an example. And I say, why are they so good? And I'll say, because they do the same thing every time. And they know the game so well. They don't waste shots. Like a Westwood, like, it's got the bad shot. When I'm teaching people, that is my aim. I want to make your bad shot better because we all hit good shots. So my good shot's the same as your good shot from 150. We both hit it to 5 feet. But my bad shot might be edge of green. Yours might be just off the green. So for me, that makes me a better player long term. So that's where I see the good players. Like a lot of the good, like they might not. The thing with golf is you don't have to win to have a successful career, do you? You very rarely win. Richard Bland's never won, and he's been on tour for 15 years. But he's had a good career, hasn't he? So it's a very interesting sport.
Like Drysdale, like you said, he's never won, but he's not lost his card.
I tell a story of Anthony Wall. I played with Anthony Wall in India in that DLF course, that crazy course. Amazing course, but crazy. And we were playing together, 3rd round. We started on 10, so our back 9 was front 9. 7th hole, he's plugged it in this bunker left of the green, like it's absolutely dead. And the green's really narrow, the angle he's going across. So if he's trying to get this plug shot out, it's 99% of the time going to go over the green, down the swale at the other side, end up 40 yards away, impossible pitch shot. I'm just thinking, in my head, like, some young kid would just jump in there, smash it out, make 8, shoot 80. He was having a bad day, shoot 80. Next day, like, toys are out the pram, shoot 75, 78, finish 60th and make $2,000. So Anthony Wall's walked in the bunker, taken forever, but he's aimed like 90 degrees left, chunked this lob wedge out onto the green to like 60 feet, kept it on the green, 2-putted, made 5, shot 74, shot 66 the next day, finished 20th, won $40,000. And he's just done that for 20 years. That's what it feels like. Just not wasted a shot on the course. So that's my kind of like story about why they are really, really good players.
So that, well, I kind of was going to lead us on to the next one. Who embody that as the golfers on tour? And you've hit the nail on the head. It's like not the guys who can go and shoot 59, or it's the ones that have been there throughout. That they know them, they know their game inside out. They don't waste anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
very fascinating stuff. So in terms of like coming to this time of year, obviously winter golf, what sort of things did you do when you played in the off season? And what would you pass on to like recreational golfers? What could they do this time of year to get them ready for the start of the season?
I guess again it boils down to like them as an individual knowing what they have to do to get better. Obviously, time's limited for everyone, so but even more so for your recreational golfers, time is extremely limited around work, around facilities, and around weather, especially in the UK. So you might only get an hour, 2 hours a week, maybe an hour at the driving range, an hour before you play on a Saturday or something. And it depends. If they're a serious golfer, then they need to be very honest with themselves. They need to, from when they play golf on a Saturday, actually, what am I not very good at? There'll be a lot of areas, again, what I'm not very good at, and then which areas costing me the most shots. And then spend that hour with a plan to get better in that department. So I would, if it was whatever it might be, I'd set a time frame out to track some results. I'd have a little bit of a game attached to, if it's short game, if their dispersion chipping's 15 feet or something, I'd be like, right, let's try and get like tour average is 6 feet chipping, isn't it? Obviously on a much harder exam, faster greens, longer rough, bigger slopes, firmer greens. But if they set a 10 foot, and I do some games where I'd set out 3 stations. You can make it as hard as easy as you want, but keep it pretty consistent and be fair with your marking. But set a target of so many balls to get within inside a certain footage and just push yourself to achieve that goal in that hour. And I think tracking them results, a little graph or in a little table, even if I think what's good about doing that is you might achieve them goals. That'll give you the confidence to do it. Even if you don't achieve them goals, you're still applying yourself in a performance element. And even if you don't achieve them goals, but you do it for 3 months and you just sit back and go, you know what, I've worked really hard at them results. Like, take some confidence from that. Maybe then it's like there is a technical element that needs to get better, or is it just sheer better practice or more structure to your performance?
Chris, I mean, that's great. And one of the things for me is you talk about about being a team sport. If there is somebody new, or coming into it and wants to really make a go of it, what kind of team would you advise then? What are the kind of people did you have around you that you found useful and beneficial?
I always treat it as a proper job from like a young age. Like it is a job. Like I used to think golf was. I never thought I was special or what I did was like amazing, but I always thought it wasn't like a job. Then the more I thought about it, it's exactly the same. Like if you're a self-employed plumber, so you have to invest some time, you have to invest probably some money in it. You need to have a bit of probably a lucky break at some point, whether it's getting a contract to get a big job and you've got to work hard. And it's exactly the same. And I treat it as like, so it's a 9 or 5 job, and I used to structure what I did through a day. Like when I was at my school, even it was like, right, my lecture's at 9 till 11. From 7 till 8, I'm doing this. 8 till 9, I'm doing this. So that was very basic. Eventually, it got more structured what I did in those hours, but I treated it as a job. So the team around me, it grew. It did change. I probably my fault or what I wasn't great at was I got really stuck into things. Probably never quite saw them out long enough. So I had a team around me. I had a psychologist or a performance coach always. I was not always with a management company, but at some point I had a manager aspect to it. I had a fitness trainer. On tour, it became a lot easier because the support network was there week in, week out, and it was so easy. Like, and you couldn't really not do it. It was there for you, and we were kind of at one point I was used as one of the guinea pigs to do some fitness work with the tour team, so that was great. But yeah, I had a full team. Obviously, a caddy. I had a caddy from the last year playing Europro, which a lot of people didn't have. I was fortunate enough to have a guy who kind of funded his own travel to come and be with me, which was great. Wow. But yeah, I did see it as it was a team. It's an individual sport with a team backbone to it. 4 or 5 people, and I think even more so now that looks like on tour. I don't know, maybe too much, but you won't see many players without 5 people tagging along. Maybe sometimes for the wrong reasons, but it's
yeah.
I think maybe people do rely on that too much. But if you look at every high-level sport, then that's exactly what you see, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got an abundance of people, abundance of specialists, haven't they?
I think the difference, a few sort of talks with a few Super League Rugby League clubs. I did Giants and did Rhinos, and I just spoke to them about golf and compared it to rugby as a sport. And one of the biggest things from an individual, this part of the individual sport compared to their sport is, obviously they get salaried and get paid regardless of performance, but they turn up to work and everything's ready everything's done. There's a structure. Today you're doing this. You're seeing the physio at this time. You're doing, as a golfer, you are the only boss and you've got to decide what you do, when you do it. You've got to make the final decision. and you can't really rely on anybody because you are the driving factor, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I guess that's what people like about golf compared to, like, I miss team sport. I've always missed team sport. I guess deep down, I like the individual element of it's me, and you can't really blame it anybody. You can try, you can try, go.
So how do you think it's then evolved from your like journey starting out to getting onto the tour, and how has the game changed in terms of like the team element? Obviously, you touched on there that the team aspect is now much more prevalent. Like how else has it changed from, let's say, when you were starting?
Yeah,
out?
I guess obviously the physical side of it has it changed, or has it just become more accessible or more in the public eye? I guess I think the whole thing with the distance debate I find quite interesting, that Bryson's very much been scapegoated for what he's doing. But I think I've seen some stats that 320 has pretty much been the leading drive stat for 10, 15 years or something. There's always been someone who hits it 320 through the year. Yeah. But the average is been pushed up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So there's just more people hitting it further. So the average has probably gone from 280 to 290 or something. Mm-hmm. But the guys who hit it long are always going to hit it long. Like you say, they're always physically probably that bit stronger, or they use the body better, or they use the ground better. And like you said, back in the day, those people did the same thing. It's nothing new, is it? Mm. It's just been like there's more people researching it. There's more technology to show what's happening, the ground force plates. And I mean, the guys who did it long 20 years ago probably use the ground the same as the guys who did it long now, don't they?
Yeah.
So
there's, like you said, there's certain principles and laws to doing it. They adhered to it 20, 30 years ago, and people still adhere to it now.
Exactly. So I think so. Obviously, that has changed. The technology's obviously changed, but it's a funny one, isn't it? Technology, you get tailor-made with a driver, whatever year, apparently goes 20 yards further, and nobody's hitting it past 280 still. Like, they're still hitting it. They're not hitting it 400 yards, are they?
Yeah.
So technology, how much has it changed? Marketing's changed, hasn't it? I think.
Yeah. Is it just a marketing ploy?
Well, I don't know. I think that the thing with golf, and probably with life, and you'll know this from the fitness side, everyone's after a quick fix. Not everyone. A lot of people are after a quick fix, whether it's a quick swing fix, whether it's a physical fix, whether it's an injury prevention, anything. And there isn't a quick fix, is there? Like, just getting a new driver. Like, I had a guy yesterday come to me just to check his driver. Is it doing the best it can do? Can it hit it further? And I would change every single setting going on this thing. I'm like, I might as well not bother coming nearly. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are wanting that magical, like, easy way to hit it 10 yards further, aren't they? But I think if you stuck at like I said to you, I never stuck at anything probably long enough. I was fortunate to always be injury-free pretty much my whole career. And I always delved in probably enough fitness through the winter and through a part of the season to get me to a level and keep me quite fit. Never probably maintain that to get enough to get to the next winter to push it again, to take it up a level. So I probably never really got any stronger within 10 years, probably. But probably never went worse. Do you know what I mean? So I think I kind of got lost there. I've gone off on about 10 different avenues, haven't I? But
I think it's a good point, though, because we see exactly the same in our, we see people come in and want to get stronger. And then how long have you got? Well, I've got about 3 weeks. Yeah. And then when you have to tell people that actually the physiology of getting stronger is about 12 weeks. And as much as we think we're good at what we do, you can't actually change how the body functions. And it does take time and development to get to the point, doesn't it?
I think you've got to be, a big thing is accountability, isn't it? It's like, you guys can tell people what to do. I can tell people what I think they should do in the golf swing. But if they don't go away and actually put the time in and the reps in, or, do you know what I mean? They're not going to get better, are they? Nothing is going to change.
Do you think some of that comes down to how much they want it?
Yeah, I think everyone wants something, don't they? They want something. But for me, last year, I lost the enjoyment in the process. So I used to be so like, diary, tick it off. That's it. Today, what am I doing? I'm doing this. Write my results down, tick it off, done it. Buzzing, loved it. Through the winter, I used to have time off and come back and play great. That was me. I used to go 2 weeks break before the next event. I'd make it really good 2 weeks. I loved that process, getting ready to go out to a tournament. And generally, that was where I performed the best. Playing Challenge Tour last year, all I wanted to do was I still enjoyed trying to shoot a good score. I hated it when I didn't shoot a good score, but I didn't have that enjoyment to knuckle down and do the small 1%, the hard yards again, and have the patience to get the results back. And I just didn't enjoy it. And I'll tell you that. I just didn't want to do it. And I was traveling away and I was playing poor, but for me to get out of that cycle, it's a hell of a cycle, isn't it? And I had to get right back to the beginning. So mid-season, I needed to rewind the wheel to the beginning and have the patience to probably give it 3 weeks before seeing any benefits. And the fact was, I kind of didn't have 3 weeks because I was playing again, and not doing the process and just digging a bigger circle. So that was getting worse and worse, and I was getting less process and worse results. So I think really looking back at it now, I should have probably stopped playing like mid-season, just had a month at home practicing, and then just tried to go full out end of the year. Looking back, probably. Instead of just trying to chase my tail and hoping that I'd get a decent result out of something and get a bit of confidence.
I suppose that when you're on the treadmill of the tour, and it's like, well, it's just week after week after week after week after week, and like you say, it's that's tour life. That's what I've got to do.
Yeah. I think tour's the easiest place in the world when things are going well. Like, you love getting on a plane, going to the next event, getting to the course, practicing, seeing the course. Like, it's easy. But then when things aren't going well, do you want to get to the airport for 2 hours and sit there? Do you want to get on a plane for 5 hours? Do you want to get to another course and then have to go out and see the course again, knowing that you've shot 75 last week? And you don't, do you? But if you're playing well, like, you're just buzzing. You want to go again. You want to keep playing. So that was probably that. Again, just being open, honest. Just, it's easy to look back now, isn't it? Maybe it's not easy for everyone to look back and actually admit where they think they've gone wrong and stuff. But I think that's, for me, certainly there's a few key things in there where I know if I need to get back to where I want to be, it's a long winter. Do you know what I mean?
Is that in the future for you?
Yeah, I do want to. Like you say, I probably had 6 months from last Q school of not playing golf at all, like not practicing, not playing. So I got the opportunity in September to go back up to Crossland Heath, which is my old childhood sort of course. Really enjoying coaching, really enjoying like sharing this sort of stuff with people. And that in itself has got me practicing. It's got me competing against like students. And so I'm, without really trying, practicing, I'm competing. It's constructive. And I'm playing more. So don't get me wrong, it still needs to be a hell of a lot more. But I'm on the right part of the wheel again. And there's no at the moment, like, time's on my side as well. So COVID kind of came at a good time for me. It gave me the break. It forced me to have a break, which I needed, which was, for a lot of people, probably, like I say, if COVID hadn't have come, that circle would have kept probably going round and I'd probably digging a bigger hole in it, really. So honesty, you got to be honest with yourself, haven't you? That's, I think, one of the biggest things. If you're not getting better, if you give it a year and you're not got better, you either do something about it or you don't bother. There's no point just going. Yeah. And especially with golf, when it's financially, like, probably one of the hardest sports to make a living from, and the expenses of doing it. So you're wasting your own time and probably a lot of other people's time as well.
Yeah, sponsors are pretty hard to come by at the the lower ends, aren't they?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
When you probably need it the most, it's
exactly.
it's not around for you. But then when you're on tour, it's like people can't give you enough.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've got plenty of stories like that. But no, we won't keep you anymore. Thank you very much for that.
No, thank you very much, Chris. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Where can people find you? Like, where are you based at now with your teaching, your coaching? Are you online? Or are you, what's your socials, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so chrishansongolf.com. Then social medias are all Hanson Pro Golf, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page, Chris Hanson Golf. That is pretty much me, yeah. So Crossland Heath Golf Club over in Huddersfield, and yeah, loving life again.
Fantastic to hear.
Lovely.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks,
Chris. Very much, Chris.
Great to speak to you. Cheers, boys.
Take care. Bye, mate.